guys, it's Kat. So before we start this book talk, I just want to say that you're going to see kind of two versions of this video because of the fact that a part of it was filmed during the morning and this part is being supposed to be first part is being filmed at night because I lost footage in between the morning and night and that was kind of frustrating. However, it's okay. I have everything that I need written down still. So today I'm going to be talking about Down the Rabbit Hole. It is the first book in the Echo Falls series and it is by Peter Abraham. Here is a cover photo if you guys are wondering or if you're curious. It is a very good book. The mystery is absolutely awesome. The plot is very suspenseful and it kind of kept me on my toes all the way to the end. It kept me guessing the entire time. So before we get into the book overview and everything, I just kind of want to give you a snippet of the book. Ingrid sat at the table, dipped one of the cookies in her mug of hot chocolate, glanced at the Echo. Boring things appeared on the front page, like coverage of the garden club and senior center bingo. And it got more boring inside except for the sports, whereas High was mentioned almost every week during football and baseball seasons, and even Ingrid had been mentioned in once or twice. But not today. Today the front page had a big photograph of a woman. Ingrid almost didn't recognize her at first, probably because her hair was cut short and neat, and her skin seemed smooth and young. It was Cracked Up Katie. The headline read, "Local resident found murdered. The subhead, assailant unknown." So this book follows the main character. Her name is Ingrid, and Ingrid is a 13-year-old. Ingrid is a very unique individual. She is actually more observant than most people of her age. She sees things that most people do not, and that is because of the fact that she has an obsession with Sherlock Holmes. Also, Ingrid is a straight-A student. She is expected to be perfect in both her sport and her schooling work because her parents want her to get into the top elite colleges. So at the beginning of this book you find Ingrid and she is actually in the dentist's office, her waiting for her mother, and her mother never shows up. However, Ingrid has soccer practice at 5:30 and she needs to be there, and so instead of waiting for her mother, she decides to walk. And as she's walking, she actually ends up in the flats, and the flats is a area that is in like a poor region of Echo Falls, and out comes a woman from this house stumbling in her stilettos and her crazy hair and her short skirts and everything, and she's smoking, and she sees Ingrid, and Ingrid knows her as the Cracked Up Katie. Katie asks if she's lost, and Ingrid, who doesn't really want to respond to that, says no, but she ends up being suckered in and allowing Katie to call her for a cab. This is the only time that Ingrid will ever see Katie alive, because after that, it's not even about a week later and Ingrid finds out that Katie is murdered. Now, how does Ingrid get into the murder mystery of Katie? She ends up finding out that she left her soccer cleats, her soccer sneakers, at the victim's house. And she also knows that those possibly are evidence now, but she kind of needs them because they are very expensive. Ingrid decides that she is going to go and sneak into the victim's house and take her shoes back. So when Ingrid finds her shoes and everything, she actually almost gets bumped into by another person. However, she hides under the bed, and the only thing she knows about this mysterious person is that 1, he has red Adidas and they're very dirty, and 2, he just stole something from Katie's house, specifically a Preston Scott bill, which is a theater that is in town. And so that also is a huge aspect of this mystery. Ingrid is leaving the house. She actually is also found by a cop, and she runs away from the cop, and she is now considered a suspect. So not only do you have all of this stuff going on, but Ingrid has finally decided, well, since she knows about a little bit more than the cops do, she decides she is going to be the one to solve the murder. So we start following along Ingrid as she finds clues and she finds even a deeper plot and a deeper issue in the murder mystery, and we see her connecting pieces. More specifically, she is finding new suspects such as Mr. Farrand, who is her father's employer. You also have other suspects introduced such as the 2 drunk guys, but then you also have a new character that comes in and his name is Vincent. He is apparently a newcomer to town. She ends up kind of trusting him. They are actually both in what will be considered the Alice in Wonderland playing at the Prescott Theater. At the same time, you have Ingrid as a 13-year-old acting as a 13-year-old. She is falling in love and finding a boyfriend for the first time. She has friends that she goes to and hangs out with, and she has parental issues and is constantly in fights with them, as well as she has a sibling issue. So that's kind of a brief overview. If you want to know more, I definitely suggest reading the book. However, I am going to now quickly talk about the characters. So as I said, Ingrid is the main character that you will be seeing. She is 13 years old, straight-A student. Another character that really needs to be talked about, obviously, is the murder victim, and that is Cracked Up Katie. And Cracks Up Katie, you kind of find out a lot about her. Another characters that you have to think about is the suspects. You have the two drunks that were considered suspect, and then you also have Mr. Farron, who is a possible suspect. He is her father's employer. And then another character that you have to consider as well is Vincent, and Vincent is a newcomer to town. He is very mysterious. There are things that he shouldn't know when he's coming into town. He knows things more about the town than most people would consider. Another character that you need to also be aware of is, and his name is Chief Strayed. He is the one that's running the entire murder investigation. So that's about it for the main characters. So I want to talk a little bit about setting. So the setting obviously is taking place in the town, and that is Echo Falls. Echo Falls is a very small town and pretty much a town where kind of everybody knows everybody. However, there are a few main places there that need to be looked at more so when it comes to the murder mystery. Specifically, obviously, Katie's home in the flats, and that one is kind of centered there. You find Ingrid there quite a bit. You find her there first one before Katie is murdered. You find her after Katie is murdered, and you also find her there a few more times trying to find more evidence. Another main setting that takes place is Prescott Theater. It is a very important theater because it kind of ties everything into that one theater because of the fact that Katie was an actress along with Philip Prescott, who is one of the founders, or his parents were the founders of this theater, and that kind of brings them all to that central area, as well as the fact that the murderer is connected to the theater as well. Alright, so the next part I want to talk about is how Down the Rabbit Hole connects to the lecture, more specifically how the rules of mystery are very important in this book. I found that the rules of mystery kind of made Down the Rabbit Hole what it would be considered as a mystery genre, and why Down the Rabbit Hole is considered a part of the mystery genre. Obviously, the first hugest rule that I think kind of summed it all up is that the crime must be a very significant crime. And I don't know what gets more significant than murdering someone. You have an entire murder plot that is trying to be solved. Another obviously big rule that I found is that all of the clues that were discovered are supposed to be put forward for the reader, and I never found a time where a clue was never put forward, nor was a clue not introduced. Any time that Ingrid thought of a clue or found a clue, she always either stated it mentally or kind of out loud. The third rule that I'll talk about is the fact of detection and how there needs to be detection, and I don't think you could find any better detection than in Down the Rabbit Hole. Ingrid, as I said earlier in the brief overview, is that she is obsessed with Sherlock Holmes and the way that he detects things around him and observes things around him. She actually takes a lot of his skills and applies it to her own detection, and it is absolutely amazing. You can almost consider her another type of Sherlock Holmes, or at least an amateur version of Sherlock Holmes. And also, one other rule that I want to talk about is that the fact that suspects were given to you constantly. When they believed that the drunks were suspects, they brought them in, and they even said that they were suspects. Anytime that Ingrid thought of a suspect or considered a suspect, she also mentioned it, and she also kind of thought about it a lot, especially when she believed that Mr. Ferrand was a possible suspect. I think I kind of discussed this a little bit, but I believe that the book that I am reading is an amateur detective book. It kind of gives it away a little bit, especially when it talks about Sherlock Holmes and how Sherlock Holmes is involved, but more of the fact that Ingrid, as in the lecture stated, is very insightful and very bright. She is very observant to things around her. She sees things that are around her that most people wouldn't consider seeing. A really big thing that I found in connection to young adult literature, especially when it talked about it in the lecture, is the fact that there's the questioning of families and the questioning of family ideology and everything. Ingrid, like I said, is in a family that is a severely perfectionist. They expect her to be the best, they expect her to do the best, they expect her to go to the top colleges. She's only in 8th grade, and so she's constantly questioning her parents and their thoughts on life, and she just doesn't believe that she believes that she should do her best, but she is just trying to be her own person. She's trying to become into her own self. Another big thing that I really quickly want to talk about is the theme. So there are two types of themes that I saw in this book, and that was truth and trust. This is a very interesting concept, and if you guys are questioning it, or you believe that, Kat, you're totally wrong about it, then definitely just tell me and we can talk about it. But I believe when I say that I believe that there's a theme of truth in it, I mean that every time that Ingrid lies about where she's going, about her detection, about the murder itself, she's actually digging herself deeper into the murder than what she wanted. And when she consistently lies to her parents, while she does dig deeper into the murder, she also kind of digs herself deeper into the fact that her parents are disappointed in her. The other thing is trust. This theme is a huge on trust. Specifically, obviously, knowing who to trust and who not to trust, and family trust. So you have her mother who is constantly harping on Ingrid to wear her night guard, which is what you put in your mouth at night, and every time Ingrid is saying, "Yep, Mom, I'm wearing it," even though she's not. And so you have this mother-daughter trust that is kind of very off balance. And then obviously you have Ingrid putting in trust into the wrong persons and people, especially into somebody that is considered the murderer. So I guess one last thing I want to talk about before I end this book talk. I kind of struggled to make a connection with the book. I think the only part of the connection that I made was the young adult part of having a crush when you're 13 years old and dealing with family struggles and everything. That did resonate with me. However, I felt like I was still outside of the book. I believe it was more just because of the fact I've never had to solve a murder before, and nor have I ever came across somebody that was murdered that I knew, and so that kind of was a struggle. So I hope this was an okay first book talk. I'm most likely going to continue doing the video just because it's easier for me, but I guess I will see you guys at my next book talk, and I can't wait to see your guys' book talk. Bye!